If you cannot be at peace in your own presence, then you are not truly living, you are emotionally surviving. Because when you need approval to feel worthy, connection to feel safe, and attention to feel alive, your inner world becomes fragile. You fear silence, you overthink distance, you crumble in isolation, and you call it loneliness. But Buddhism reveals a deeper truth. This is not loneliness, it is attachment, and attachment is the root of suffering. Not because love is wrong, but because when your happiness depends on others, your peace is never yours. You become reactive, restless, incomplete. So if you are tired of feeling unseen, emotionally drained and internally empty, stay with me. Today you will learn how to build happiness from within, without relationships, without validation, without noise. And once you grasp this truth, being alone will no longer scare you. It will finally set you free. Solitude is the sacred classroom. Loneliness often feels like a wound, a quiet ache that whispers, "You are forgotten." Yet in the still halls of Buddhist wisdom, solitude is not a curse. It is a sacred classroom where the mind finally hears itself. When the world grows silent, something within you begins to speak, and that voice has been waiting for a long time. Silence reveals what noise conceals. In the noise of relationships, ambitions, and constant distraction, you may never meet your true self. Loneliness arrives like dusk in a temple hall, soft, unavoidable, and honest. It removes the mirrors of others and leaves you face to face with your own presence. Who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when there is no one to impress? Loneliness is a dark cave. Your hands tremble as you walk inside. You fear what you might find. Yet beneath the darkness, hidden diamonds rest quietly. These are your buried truths, your unspoken grief, your forgotten dreams. The cave does not exist to trap you, it exists to awaken you. Close your eyes. Imagine sitting beside a calm lake at dusk. The sky is fading, the water is still. You hear only your breath and the soft pulse of your heart. In this stillness, there is no rejection, no abandonment, only presence. This is where happiness begins, not in others, but in the quiet acceptance of being with yourself. Ask yourself gently, what is loneliness trying to teach me? What feelings have I avoided hearing? What truths arise when there is no distraction? The mind becomes honest when it is alone. It shows you where you are attached, where you are afraid, and where you are free. Many chase happiness through people, believing connection is the cure for emptiness. But the Buddha taught that suffering grows when we depend on others to complete us. When you learn to sit with solitude, you discover a deeper companionship, your own awareness. Loneliness ends the moment you realize your presence is enough. This is the turning point. Solitude becomes your teacher, not your enemy. You begin to observe your thoughts like clouds passing across a quiet sky. You see cravings arise, fears dissolve, and peace unfold naturally. In this sacred classroom, discipline is born, clarity strengthens, and compassion deepens. So tonight, do not run from being alone. Sit with it. Listen. Let it shape you. When you no longer beg the world to fill your emptiness, you awaken to a happiness that does not depend on anyone. In that quiet awakening, you realize you were never truly alone. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "Myself attracts everything." 2. Attachment is invisible suffering. Attachment often feels like love, but it carries a quiet tremor beneath its surface. You hold tightly to people, memories, expectations, hoping they will keep you safe. Yet the tighter your grip, the more your heart trembles. In Buddhist wisdom, this is invisible suffering, the fear of losing what you believe you need to survive. What you cling to becomes your chain. Attachment whispers promises of comfort, but it secretly teaches the mind to fear absence. When someone changes, leaves, or disappoints you, pain rises not because love existed, but because dependence was born. The mind built a home on shifting ground. Attachment is a golden cage. It shines. It feels warm. It feels meaningful. Yet inside you cannot move freely. You shape your thoughts to please others. You silence your truth to keep connection. Slowly you forget who you are when no one is there to approve, reject, or stay. Close your eyes and see your hands filled with heavy stones. Each stone is a fear, a person, an expectation, a role you cling to. Now imagine standing beside a flowing river. One by one you open your hands. The stones sink. The water carries them away. Your hands feel light. Your breath deepens. Nothing essential is lost. Only the weight dissolves. Ask yourself gently, what am I gripping that hurts me? What belief keeps me trapped in longing? What would freedom feel like if I stopped needing someone to complete me? In this question, awareness begins to awaken. The Buddha taught that suffering grows from craving. When you crave companionship as a cure for emptiness, you create a wound that only deepens. But when you learn to be present without clinging, relationships become gifts, not necessities. Love becomes spacious. Peace becomes stable. This is the quiet turning point. You realize that letting go is not abandonment. It is returning to your own center. Without emotional dependency, your mind becomes clear, your heart becomes gentle, and your identity becomes rooted in awareness rather than approval. Tonight, practice opening your hands. Release one expectation. Release one fear. Release one story that says you are incomplete without others. In that release, a deeper happiness begins to breathe within you, and you discover a silent truth. Freedom was never outside you. It was waiting for your grip to loosen. 3. Build inner stability before seeking love. You often search for love as if it were a missing piece, believing another person will complete what feels broken inside. Yet the Buddha taught that wholeness is not found in another's presence. It is cultivated in the quiet work of knowing and stabilizing your own heart. Without this foundation, every relationship becomes a fragile shelter built on shifting sand. A steady heart needs no crutches. When your emotions depend on others, your happiness rises and falls with their words, their moods, their presence. This dependence feels like closeness, but it is actually fear dressed as affection. A heart that leans too heavily cannot stand when the support moves. Inner stability is like a mountain. Seasons change, storms arrive, winds howl. Yet the mountain remains unmoved. In the same way, your inner state must remain grounded even when relationships change, when people come and go, when expectations break. Stability is not coldness. It is quiet strength. Close your eyes and feel your spine rising tall like a mountain rooted deep in the earth. Your breath moves slowly. Your thoughts settle. In this posture, you are not begging for connection. You are available, open, and whole. This is where healthy love begins. Ask yourself gently, what wounds inside me still seek validation? What fears push me to cling, to please, to abandon myself? What habits weaken my emotional core? These questions are not judgments. They are lanterns lighting the path inward. The Buddha spoke of cultivating the mind like tending a garden. Before planting flowers, you clear the soil. Before seeking love, you heal the soil of your heart. This healing is quiet discipline, meditation, honest reflection, self-respect, and compassionate boundaries. When you become emotionally self-sufficient, relationships transform. You no longer chase affection to fill emptiness. You share joy because joy already exists within you. You listen deeply because you are not desperate to be heard. You love without fear because you are not afraid to stand alone. This is a subtle turning point. The mind shifts from need to presence, from craving to clarity, from dependency to grounded connection. Others feel this stability. They sense that you are not a storm-seeking shelter, but a calm mountain offering peace. Practice strengthening yourself daily. Sit with your thoughts without fleeing. Speak truth kindly. Rest without guilt. Build routines that honor your mind and body. Each small act becomes a stone in the foundation of your inner stability. When love arrives, it will meet a steady heart, not a trembling one. And if love departs, the mountain within you will still stand. Remember this: when you build yourself first, happiness stops being borrowed. It becomes your natural state, quietly rooted, deeply unshakable. 4. Heal your thought process first. Suffering often returns like a familiar shadow. You change places, people, routines, yet the same sadness, fear, and frustration reappear. The Buddha taught that when the outer world changes, but the mind remains unchanged, suffering quietly rebuilds itself. The mind is the seed. Experience is the fruit. Change the lens, and the world transforms. Your thoughts are not small whispers. They are architects. They shape how you see yourself, how you interpret others, and how you experience every moment. When the lens is dark, even sunlight looks like night. The mind is a painter. Many paint storms without realizing they can choose sunlight. Old beliefs, silent judgments, and hidden fears become the colors you use against the light. You paint again and again. You may not notice the brush in your hand, yet every stroke becomes your reality. Close your eyes and imagine dark clouds gathering above your head. They feel heavy, familiar, almost comforting in their certainty. Now watch them slowly dissolve. The sky opens. Blue space appears. Nothing was wrong with the sky. Only the clouds were temporary. Your thoughts are like these clouds. Ask yourself gently, which thoughts imprison me? Which inner stories repeat without question? Which beliefs tell me I am not enough, not loved, not safe? These are not truths. They are patterns waiting to be seen. The Buddha observed that the mind repeats what it does not understand. If you believe abandonment is inevitable, you will see it everywhere. If you believe peace is impossible, you will overlook every peaceful moment. The mind recreates the same emotional patterns until awareness interrupts the cycle. This interruption begins with observation. When a painful thought arises, do not fight it. Watch it. Name it. Let it pass like a cloud. In this witnessing, you step out of the storm and into the open sky of awareness. When the lens changes, relationships change, work changes, solitude changes, loneliness becomes space, failure becomes instruction, silence becomes sanctuary. Nothing outside may shift, yet everything inside becomes lighter. This is the quiet turning point. You realize happiness is not hidden in future events, but in present perception. The world did not need to transform. The lens did. The painter did. Practice daily. Replace one harsh thought with a gentle one. Question 1. Limiting belief. Sit with one uncomfortable feeling without escaping. Each small act is a stroke of sunlight across the canvas of your mind. Imagine waking tomorrow with a mind that no longer paints storms by default. Imagine walking through life with a lens that sees possibility, calm, and meaning. This is not fantasy. It is disciplined awareness. Remember this. When you heal your thought process, the world does not merely look different, it becomes different. And in that transformed seeing, happiness arises quietly, like clear sky after rain. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "Myself attracts everything." 5. Self-acceptance ends inner war. You often speak to yourself with a harshness you would never use with another soul. You demand perfection from a mind that is learning, from a heart that has been wounded, from a body that has carried you through every storm. The Buddha taught that suffering deepens when we turn against ourselves. Inner war is subtle, but it drains the spirit. The heart softens when it stops judging itself. Judgment is a sharp blade. You use it to cut your flaws, your past, your emotions. Yet each cut creates more pain. You believe discipline requires cruelty, but true discipline grows from understanding, not punishment. Self-acceptance is a warm fire melting frozen self-criticism. Imagine sitting beside that fire after a long winter of self-doubt. The ice around your heart begins to thaw. Shame loosens its grip. Fear softens. You feel warmth where there was once only tension. Place your hand over your heart. Feel its steady rhythm. Breathe gently and whisper, "I allow myself to be human." In this simple act, resistance fades. You are no longer an enemy to yourself. You become a quiet companion. Ask yourself softly, where do I reject myself? Which parts of me do I hide, deny, or attack? What kindness do I withhold because I believe I must earn it? These questions are not accusations. They are invitations to return home. The Buddha observed that compassion begins within. When you accept your imperfections, you stop projecting them onto others. You stop seeking constant validation. You stop fearing exposure. Self-acceptance becomes the ground from which genuine confidence rises. This is a subtle turning point. When you stop fighting yourself, energy once spent on self-criticism becomes available for growth. You listen more deeply. You learn more honestly. You change not out of shame, but out of care. In solitude, self-acceptance becomes your closest companion. When no one is there to reassure you, your own gentle presence becomes the reassurance. Loneliness loses its sharpness because you are not abandoning yourself. Practice this daily. Notice one self-critical thought and replace it with understanding. Acknowledge one mistake without punishment. Celebrate one quiet strength that no one else sees. These small acts weave a new relationship with yourself. Imagine living with an inner voice that supports rather than condemns. Imagine moving through life without the constant pressure to be flawless. This is not weakness, it is clarity, it is peace. Remember this, when you stop fighting yourself, the mind stops creating battlefields, and in that quiet truce, happiness emerges, not as a reward, but as the natural state of a heart finally at peace with itself. 6. Health is spiritual discipline. You often search for peace in the mind while neglecting the body that carries that mind through every moment. Yet the Buddha taught that wisdom does not float in the air. It rests upon a living, breathing form. When the body is neglected, the mind struggles to remain calm. When the body is cared for, the mind becomes a quiet sanctuary. A cared-for body carries a quiet mind. This is not vanity. This is discipline. Your breath, your posture, your nourishment, your sleep. Each one is a silent prayer or a silent disturbance. The body remembers every habit. It reflects every choice. Your body is a monastery. When its walls are strong, silence echoes peacefully inside. When its walls are cracked, every thought becomes noise. When you treat your body with disregard, restlessness multiplies. When you treat it with reverence, clarity settles naturally. Close your eyes and feel light entering with each slow breath. Imagine that light nourishing every cell, every muscle, every quiet nerve. Your body softens, your chest expands, your breath becomes a steady companion. In this moment, the temple is alive and the monk within you is attentive. Ask yourself gently, how do I treat my body each day? Do I listen when it whispers fatigue, or do I ignore it until it screams? What habits drain my vitality? What small healing can begin today without force, without guilt? The Buddha observed that awareness begins with the body. When you walk, know that you walk. When you eat, know that you eat. When you breathe, know that you breathe. This simple attention transforms ordinary acts into spiritual discipline. The body becomes a doorway to presence. This is a quiet turning point. When you care for your body, emotions stabilize, energy increases, thoughts slow. You become less reactive, less scattered, more grounded. Solitude becomes easier because the body is no longer a battlefield of neglect and discomfort. In loneliness, the body becomes your companion. A gentle walk, a mindful breath, a warm meal. These are not trivial. They are acts of self-respect. They remind you that you are worthy of care even when no one else is watching. Practice today with one conscious act. Stretch slowly. Drink water with awareness. Rest without apology. Move with intention. These are not distractions from spirituality. They are spirituality made visible. Imagine a life where your body supports your peace instead of resisting it. Imagine a mind that rests easily because the body is steady. This is not perfection, it is alignment. Remember this. When you honor your body as a sacred temple, your mind becomes a quiet sanctuary. And in that sanctuary, happiness arises, not as an idea, but as a felt living presence within you. 7. Comparison is silent poison. You often look at another life and feel smaller. You measure your steps against their strides, your silence against their applause, your pace against their speed. Comparison slips quietly into the mind and reshapes reality, turning your own journey into a constant evaluation. The Buddha taught that when the mind compares, it forgets to be present. And presence is where peace lives. Your path was never meant to resemble another's. Each life unfolds under different skies, with different storms, different lessons. When you compare, you erase this sacred uniqueness. You turn your path into a copy that can never satisfy you. Gratitude dissolves and quiet despair begins to grow. Comparison is staring at another's moon while missing your own stars. You admire their light, yet you overlook the countless stars already shining in your sky. Your strengths, your resilience, your subtle progress. These remain invisible when your gaze is fixed elsewhere. Close your eyes and picture walking through a forest path that belongs only to you. The ground is untouched, the air is still. No footsteps to follow, no footprints to chase. Every step you take is original. Every turn reveals something no one else has seen. This is your life when you stop comparing. Ask yourself gently, whom do I compare myself to? What peace do I lose each time I measure myself against them? What uniqueness in me remains unseen because I am busy watching others? These questions are mirrors, not judgments. The Buddha observed that envy and pride arise from the same illusion, the belief that value is relative. When you compare, you place your worth on a scale that never rests. Someone will always seem ahead, and someone will always seem behind. The scale never brings peace. This is a quiet turning point. When you walk your own path, gratitude returns. You notice your breath, your growth, your quiet victories. You stop racing and start arriving. Solitude becomes gentle because you are no longer haunted by images of lives that are not yours. In loneliness, comparison can feel louder. You see others surrounded by people and feel left behind, yet their crowd is not your measure. Your solitude is not their failure. It is simply your terrain, rich with lessons meant only for you. Practice today by noticing one comparison and letting it go. Replace it with appreciation for your own step, however small. Honor your pace, respect your season, celebrate your quiet progress. Imagine a mind that no longer measures itself against another's journey. Imagine walking without pressure, without envy, without shame. This is not indifference. This is clarity. This is dignity. Remember this. When you stop comparing, you stop competing with life. And in that release, you discover a calm truth. Your path was never behind. It was always unfolding exactly as it should. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "Myself attracts everything." 8. Presence ends emotional hunger. You often search for happiness in a future moment, when life changes, when someone arrives, when circumstances improve. Yet the Buddha taught that suffering grows when the mind abandons the present. You starve in the now while dreaming of later. Emotional hunger is born from absence of presence. Now is the only place life lives. The past is a memory shaped by emotion. The future is a story shaped by desire. But this breath, this heartbeat, this awareness, this is real. When the mind leaves this moment, it leaves life itself. The present moment is a silent bell calling the soul home. It rings softly beneath every thought, every worry, every longing. Yet you often ignore it, chasing imagined moments that never fully arrive. Presence is not dramatic. It is simple, and in its simplicity, it ends longing. Close your eyes and listen to your breath as if it were sacred music. Each inhale is a gentle arrival. Each exhale is a quiet release. In this listening, nothing is missing. The body is here, the mind is here, life is here. Ask yourself gently, where is my mind wandering? What beauty is unfolding right now that I am not noticing? Can I stay here even for a few breaths without escaping? These questions return you from exile. The Buddha observed that anxiety is the mind living in the future and regret is the mind living in the past. Peace is the mind resting in the present. When you return to this moment, the mind stops chasing and starts resting. Emotional hunger fades because you are no longer waiting for life to begin. This is a quiet turning point. When you become present, loneliness softens. Silence becomes alive. Ordinary moments become sacred. You notice the warmth of your hands, the rhythm of your steps, the subtle joy of simply existing. In solitude, presence becomes your closest friend. There is no audience, no performance, no expectation, just awareness, just breath, just being. And in that being, you discover a happiness that does not depend on anyone else. Practice today with 1 minute of full presence. Feel your feet touching the ground. Taste your food slowly. Listen without thinking of replies. These small returns build a mind that lives rather than waits. Imagine a life where you no longer postpone joy, where peace is not delayed until conditions are perfect, where each moment becomes complete in itself. This is not fantasy. This is disciplined presence. Remember this. When you live in the now, emotional hunger dissolves. And in that simple, ungrasped moment, happiness stops being a destination. It becomes the quiet, steady reality of being here. 9. Kindness breaks inner isolation. Loneliness often shrinks the world until only your thoughts remain. You sit with your silence and feel cut off, unseen, disconnected. Yet the Buddha taught that isolation is not healed by waiting to be reached. It is healed by reaching outward with intention. When you give, you step beyond the small circle of the self. When you serve, you remember who you are. Service reminds you that you are more than your loneliness, more than your fears, more than your stories. In giving, you touch a deeper identity, the part of you that is naturally connected to all beings. Kindness is a lamp that lights both giver and receiver. When you offer a gentle word, a listening ear, a quiet act of care, something within you brightens. The darkness of isolation thins. The heart feels less confined, meaning returns. Close your eyes and imagine warmth flowing from your heart into the world. It moves like a soft glow, touching people you know and people you have never met. It asks for nothing. It expects nothing. It simply gives. In this flow, you are not alone. You are part of a living current. Ask yourself gently, who needs my compassion today? What kindness have I withheld because I felt too empty, too tired, too distant? How can I serve quietly without seeking recognition? These questions shift the mind from lack to contribution. The Buddha observed that the self becomes lighter when it serves. When you help another, even in small ways, your suffering loosens its grip. Loneliness becomes a bridge rather than a wall. You realize your presence has value beyond being noticed. This is a quiet turning point. When you give, you stop circling your own pain. You move into connection with life itself. Even solitude becomes purposeful because your actions ripple outward in ways you may never see. In loneliness, kindness becomes your companion, writing a supportive message, caring for a plant, offering patience to a stranger. These acts are not small. They are threads that weave you back into the fabric of existence. Practice today with one act of kindness done in silence. Expect no reward. Seek no validation. Let the act be complete in itself. Notice how your mind shifts when it moves from what do I lack to what can I give. Imagine living with a heart that naturally extends warmth even in solitude. Imagine feeling connected through compassion, even without constant companionship. This is not dependency. This is interbeing, quiet, grounded, and real. Remember this. When you offer kindness, inner isolation dissolves, and in that gentle giving, you discover a profound truth. Happiness grows not when you are filled, but when you become a source of light for others. 10. Let go of worry to touch peace. You carry the future like a weight on your chest. Questions rise before sleep. Images of loss, failure, and uncertainty repeat like restless waves. The Buddha taught that worry is the mind rehearsing suffering that may never arrive. In chasing control, you lose the peace that is already here. Surrender is the doorway to peace. Surrender is not weakness. It is wisdom that sees the limits of control. When you loosen your grip on imagined futures, the heart softens, the breath deepens, the present becomes spacious again. Worry is a storm that forgets the sky is endless. Thoughts gather like dark clouds, yet above them, the sky remains untouched. Your awareness is that sky. The storm passes, but the sky endures. When you remember this, fear begins to dissolve. Close your eyes and imagine your worries as leaves floating on a river. Each leaf carries a fear, a plan, a doubt. Watch them drift downstream. Do not chase them. Do not push them. Simply watch as the current carries them away. The river keeps flowing, whether you cling or release. Ask yourself gently, what future fear drains me the most? What story am I repeating in my mind? What happens if I trust even a little? What peace might replace this anxiety if I allow life to unfold? These questions open a quiet space inside you. The Buddha observed that suffering grows when the mind clings to outcomes. When you demand certainty, life feels fragile. When you allow uncertainty, life feels alive. Trust does not remove challenges, but it removes the poison of constant anticipation. This is a quiet turning point. When you let go of worry, your energy returns to the present. You notice the warmth of your breath, the steadiness of your body, the subtle rhythm of being alive. The future becomes a horizon, not a threat. In loneliness, worry often grows louder. You imagine being alone forever, being forgotten, being left behind. Yet these are stories, not destinies. Trust gently brings you back to this moment, where loneliness is only space, and space can feel peaceful. Practice today by letting go of one future thought. When your mind jumps ahead, return to your breath. Place a hand on your chest. Feel the simple truth of being here. This is not denial, this is grounding. Imagine living without replaying disasters in your head. Imagine welcoming uncertainty with calm curiosity. Imagine trusting that you will face whatever comes with awareness and strength. This is not a dream, it is disciplined surrender. Remember this: when you release worry, you touch the quiet sky behind the storm. And in that wide sky, peace is not something you chase. It is something you recognize as your true nature. We would love to hear your thoughts. If you are unsure what to say, just type, "Myself attracts everything." 11. Emotional independence is real power. You often give your emotions to others without realizing it. A word lifts you. A silence hurts you. A reaction shapes your whole day. The Buddha taught that this is not connection, but silent captivity. Emotional independence is the moment you take your heart back into your own hands. Power is calm in pressure. True power is not loud. It does not overreact. It does not beg for approval. It simply rests. When your inner state no longer depends on outside validation, a deep authority rises within you. Emotional independence is a candle that no storm can put out. People may praise you or misunderstand you. Situations may change, yet your flame stays steady. You feel, but you are not owned by your feelings. You respond, but you are not controlled. Close your eyes and imagine sitting in quiet confidence. Voices move around you like wind through trees. Opinions pass like clouds. Inside, you stay still. Your breath is slow. Your posture is grounded. You do not shrink or try to grow bigger. You simply are. Ask yourself softly, who controls my emotions? Whose approval am I chasing? What would freedom feel like if I no longer needed permission to be peaceful? These questions bring your power back to you. The Buddha observed that attachment to praise and fear of blame are two chains on the same mind. When you seek approval, you fear rejection. When you release both, you stand in dignity. Emotional independence is not coldness. It is stability without pride, openness without dependence. This is a quiet turning point. When you stop reacting to every opinion, your mind becomes open and wide. You choose how to respond. You pause before speaking. You feel without sinking. Solitude becomes empowering because you are no longer defined by who is present or absent. In loneliness, emotional independence becomes a safe place. You do not feel abandoned because you are not leaving yourself. You do not feel incomplete because you are not waiting for someone to complete you. You sit with yourself as a steady friend. Practice today by setting one gentle boundary. Say no without guilt. Speak honestly without anger. Step away from conversations that drain your energy. Each boundary is not separation from others. It is alignment with yourself. Imagine moving through life steady in both praise and criticism. Imagine relationships where love is shared, not demanded. Imagine solitude that feels strong, not empty. This is not turning away from humanity. This is mastery within it. Remember this: when you become emotionally independent, You stop chasing control and start living in calm. And in that calm, you discover a deep truth. No storm outside you can put out the quiet candle of your awakened mind. Bonus: turn solitude into enlightenment. You sit alone, and the mind calls it loneliness. But the Buddha taught that solitude is not absence, it is a doorway. When nothing is needed, everything feels complete. In the quiet, where no one is watching, judging, or responding, the self begins to soften into something wider and calmer. Solitude is like a still lake reflecting your true face. When the water is disturbed by voices, expectations, and desires, you cannot see clearly. But when the surface becomes still, your reflection appears, not the role you perform, but the presence you truly are. Alone, you meet your real self. Close your eyes and imagine standing before a calm lake at dawn. The water is clear, the sky is gentle. You lean forward and see your reflection, calm, steady, fearless. In this moment, there is no need to impress, to chase, or to belong. There is only being. Ask yourself softly, can I feel at home within myself? What stillness waits under my restlessness? Am I ready to face silence without running from it? These questions are not pressure, they are invitations to awaken. The Buddha observed that craving creates the illusion of incompleteness. When you believe you need someone, something, or some future to feel whole, the mind suffers. When you realize nothing is required for your existence to be complete, solitude turns into clarity. This is a deep turning point. Alone, but not lonely. The absence of others becomes the presence of awareness. The lack of noise becomes the sound of truth. The empty room becomes a temple where the mind can finally bow to itself. In solitude, you start to see your thoughts rise and fall like gentle ripples. You watch emotions pass without being pulled under. You realize that the witness behind every experience remains untouched. This understanding is not dramatic. It is gentle, quiet, and deeply freeing. Practice meeting solitude as a teacher. Sit without distractions. Walk without a goal. Listen without needing to answer. Each quiet moment becomes a mirror that clears your understanding. Slowly, the fear of being alone fades away. Imagine a life where solitude feels like nourishment, not punishment. Where being alone feels open, not empty. Where silence feels alive, not lifeless. This is not escaping the world. It is awakening within it. Remember this: when you turn solitude into awareness, you touch enlightenment in simple moments. And in that clear reflection, you discover a final truth. Happiness was never waiting in other people. It was always resting in the still lake of your own being. We would love to hear your thoughts. If you are unsure what to say, just type, "Myself attracts everything." Quick summary: solitude is a sacred classroom. Loneliness removes distractions and invites honest self-reflection. In silence, hidden emotional patterns rise. Awareness grows where noise once ruled. True self-realization begins when you stop avoiding yourself. Attachment is hidden suffering. Emotional dependence teaches the mind to fear loss. Clinging creates insecurity, anxiety, and inner weakness. Letting go brings emotional balance back. Freedom begins where attachment ends. Build inner stability. Before looking for love, develop inner stability. It is emotional self-reliance. Without it, relationships turn into emotional support sticks. Stability creates clarity, strength, and calm. A grounded mind attracts healthier bonds. Heal your thinking. First, your thought patterns shape your emotional world. Unhealed thoughts repeat suffering again and again. Awareness breaks harmful cycles. Inner peace begins with disciplined perception. Self-acceptance ends inner conflict. Self-rejection creates silent pain. Acceptance removes shame and emotional resistance. Compassion restores inner balance. Peace appears when self-judgment fades. Health is spiritual discipline. Ignoring the body weakens emotional health. The body supports mental clarity and emotional strength. Energy strengthens spiritual focus. Self-care becomes a sacred duty. Comparison is silent poison. Comparison twists self-worth and creates dissatisfaction. It replaces gratitude with jealousy. Self-trust weakens under constant comparison. Freedom appears when comparison stops. Presence ends emotional craving. Mindfulness eases anxiety and longing. Living in the present restores emotional strength. Awareness replaces mental confusion. Peace is always available now. Kindness breaks inner isolation. Compassion reconnects us to shared humanity. Giving removes loneliness and emptiness. Service brings emotional meaning back. Love grows through generosity. Let go of worry to feel peace. Worry drains the nervous system. Trust restores emotional balance. Surrender invites mental clarity. Calm replaces fear when control softens. Emotional independence is true power. Emotional mastery builds inner authority. Outside approval loses its hold. Calm steadiness replaces emotional reactions. True power rises from inner stillness. Turn solitude into enlightenment. Solitude deepens awareness and spiritual clarity. Stillness reveals your true identity. Self-discovery unfolds naturally. Peace settles within silence. Loneliness is not the lack of love. It is the invitation to return to yourself. When the mind stops searching outside, it begins discovering within. In stillness, emotional wounds soften, clarity grows, and peace slowly replaces fear. As Zen wisdom says, sit quietly, doing nothing, and spring comes, and the grass grows by itself. When you stop chasing happiness, it gently unfolds. Heal your thoughts, strengthen your body, accept your flaws, and allow solitude to become deep inner companionship. Reflection. If no one were watching, judging, or expecting anything from you, who would you choose to become? If this message touched your heart, gently press like, share this wisdom with someone who needs it, and share your reflections in the comments. Buddhist insights on living a peaceful life.